Sometimes life hits you really hard. You're going along and everything is great. And then all of a sudden, boom, darkness. And this can come from a health scare, an accident, the end of a key relationship, or a job loss. And it is like a light switch. And suddenly you're very interested in the process of making your life better, in moving into the light on a daily basis. Now, my life wasn't like that at all. My life was floating along just fine. But that was the problem. I was floating and I was fine. You see, for many of us, life is more like that. I had created these patterns of life or habits that kept me floating and fine. Now, nothing terrible was happening, but there was nothing intentional about my movement towards progress, toward the light of happiness, and towards fulfilling my full potential. Does that sound familiar to you? Maybe you're moving up at your job. Maybe your business is going along fine. You're probably paying your mortgage and you've got a car. Maybe you even take a vacation or two. And yet, if you're like me, you find yourself often unhappy. You feel your life sort of slipping. You worry that this is all there is. Sometimes you might even wake up unhappy, float through another day, and go to bed unhappy. And without even knowing it, your life has slipped and faded into darkness. I mean, when did it get so dark in here? Now, that was me. And I've talked to hundreds of people who have experienced the same thing. But life is not supposed to be this way. The only question is, when you find yourself wanting more, wanting your life to be a sunrise, not a sunset, what do you do? Well, your brain is wired through biology to drive to habits, keeps you alive, keeps you safe. 80 to 90% of your life is habits. Those are those unconscious behaviors that your mind floats through every day. And when you want to make changes, whether in your life or in your business, you have to start with habits, because habits drive the majority of your behavior, and that behavior determines your outcomes. Whether you are aware of it or you're just floating through unawareness like I was, every day we're drifting further into darkness, or we're driving closer to that light of happiness, fulfillment, and accomplishment. And you have to be intentional in your habits to make it happen. An increasing volume of research shows as soon as you want better out of life, your habits are the key. It takes you from floating and fine to energized and engaged. When I found myself in darkness, I knew I had to change. And I knew that changing my habits was the only way to make the consistent change I needed so that every day was a little brighter and a little happier. It wasn't a one-day burst of momentum. It was a daily, consistent habit that made the difference. And that is true for you too. The first thing I had to do was research and learn how to build and maintain successful habits. Once I did that, my life could stop floating into that darkness, and I could start moving with intention into the light of happiness. That research-based change led me to some consistent, successful habits. And all habits are made up of just 3 keys. The first is to make the habit small to start. The second is to make the habit easy so you're consistent. And the third is to celebrate small wins. An intentional implementation of those 3 principles changed my life. They added meaning and purpose. It gave me something to look forward to every day. And I want to share with you how you can have the same thing. How every day can be a step into greater light and happiness. Once you know the system of small, easy, and celebrate, things start to change immediately and results quickly follow. Every day is filled with growth and value. Every day is full of intention and meaning. When you or your team or your organization or your company seems to be floating or drifting or stagnant, it is your habits that got you there. I want to show you how to implement the 3 simple habit steps in a systematic way to add power and purpose into your company culture. Let's walk together into the habits of happiness.